Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Pavement After Hours. This is a part 2 from the last episode, because right as we were ending, we started talking about something very interesting. So Mike and Colin are still here with me. When we finished off, it was really, yeah, won't let 'em leave. Well, it was really interesting as we were talking about like the national level and how things have changed, and brought up like, you know, a good point that we didn't touch base anything on because we kind of run out of time, but that we have a lot of hedge fund companies now, private equity buying companies, merging companies, buying multiple companies. And where does that go? I mean, I haven't worked with any. I don't know where that's coming from. I mean, I have a few different concerns about it.
Yeah.
But
well, I think a lot of I mean, it's, you know, the background, you know, I've done quite a bit of research on this and have some knowledge of this, but the private equity has gone into other industries besides ours. First off, they've gone into plumbing, they've gone into HVAC, a lot of service industries, because
they realize you can make money in construction doing all that.
Yeah, and it's repeat business, you know. So they've gone after some of the other service type industries, like I said, HVAC and plumbing. And over the past, I want to say probably 5 to 8 years, they've been going after a lot of paving, you know. So there's some larger, well-known paving companies that have absorbed other companies, you know, for one reason or another. I know some of the reasons are because maybe that guy can't pay their bills, and so a larger company will buy his debt and say, okay, well, now I own you, you know. So some of that, a lot of the stuff is, you know, like going into other markets, right? You know, there's a guy out there that has a pretty decent market, and a large paving company wants to have more market share, you know. So that's how you grow too, is by gaining market share. So they've gone in there and buying those companies. But over the past really three years, really, a lot of these real true national companies have came up by buying multiple organizations in different markets. There's companies out on the West Coast, there's companies up north, there's companies on the East Coast that have absorbed or bought several companies, you know. I don't think and it's private equity, right? So they take all the face out of everything, you know. It's like a slaughterhouse, really, you know. They don't care what the pig's face looks like. They're just using it for meat, you know. So,
and that's one of my concerns about it.
Right.
Is because, like we've talked before, I mean, in the asphalt industry, even though there's a lot of asphalt companies, it's kind of a tight-knit industry, you know.
It used to be, and
you're
now
gonna see
it's a little bit loose now.
People at the trade shows, and what's going to go on when you've got, you know, we thought, okay, so you got 30 national companies now bidding on one project, but you put in there 3 or 4 of them are a different hedge fund company with unlimited budget.
Right. Well, they still have to make money, right? So the private equity still has to make money.
Well, yeah.
You know, are they buying these companies to get market share and then cutting people that have been there for 30 years? I don't know. I don't know what's happening because it's still pretty new, right? You know,
right.
So, but I know for a fact that when these hedge funds come in and buy these companies, they're leaning them out big time, you know. So they're leaning them out, squeezing more profit out of them, trying to gain more money. And you know, when you squeeze a job, right? So you go onto a job, right, and you got a flat tire. Now your profit's got to pay for that, right? You know, you're looking to figure out how to make sure you're flush on the job, you know. I think as the accounts that we have and the accounts that we pursue, and my sales team and stuff that we go after, we're looking for good national accounts that still want to work with the family-owned businesses such as ourselves, you know, and we really educate them on the private equity stuff, you know. A lot of my LinkedIn posts are aimed at some of this private equity. I mean, they lean these companies out. They get rid of people that've been there for a long time, you know, and people do lose jobs during these private equity deals, you know. So they do lose jobs. That work for the companies being absorbed, and they squeeze out more profit
because they're trying to run it cheaper.
Yeah, they try to run it leaner, cheaper, and
we all have that in the family and business and all that stuff. Like we have guys like, yeah, could I do without that? Make this person work a little harder? Probably.
Right.
I mean, I could squeeze. I mean, we all could like squeeze down and make more profit, but I don't want to put
So-
more on somebody else's
Yeah.
shoulder, and I don't want to exploit people. I want people to make good money working here, want to work here,
Yeah.
and
I have a friend
be able
of
to take
mine-
care of their family.
I have a friend of mine that sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no
I had a
problem.
friend of mine that I had lunch with like last week or the week before that, and it's a totally separate industry from what we are, right? His company got bought out by a private equity company, and he's been working there for I think 12 or 13 years. And they said if you stay with us for the next 5 years, because he's a GM for the place, if you stay with us for the next 5 years, at the end of 5 years, we're going to give you a 6-digit check. They said, we want you to run this business, and here's a check at the end of the rainbow for you stay with us 5 years. So they got that going for them. I can't offer that to my guys, right? You can't go to your guy and say, hey, listen, you stay with me 5 years, I'll give you a check for $500,000,
Right.
at the end of 5 years, So that's the first thing that private equity did to him, said, hey, okay, well, we want to retain you since you're the GM. We're going to get rid of some of these other guys that aren't really doing what they should be doing, or, we're going to lean out this company. He was there 12 years, and the largest grossing year that he had, it was like 6.5%. That's as much as he grew in a year, was 6.5%. They said over the next 5 years, they want like upwards of 15% year over year for the next 5 years from him, in order for him to get his check.
So, and then what if you didn't do that? And it's just SOL?
Well, yeah, they squeeze the hell out of the business.
So they make it almost, it's either they make money or they say
They need to make money because they're the private equity or the hedge funds. They have somebody to answer to.
You think they know that that's not possible, and that way they get the
anything's
business?
possible.
It's
Right,
anything's possible, but it's to
the mental
stay
state
that
puts you on.
consistent
It drives
for
the guy crazy.
5 years to 15% over and over.
Right.
They know that they're not going to
And,
write that
you
$500,000 check out.
right? And
They might write out $100,000
But they'll
one,
make
but they're
money because
not.
that guy's going to try his ass
They're going to make
off.
money, and
Right.
we all know a hedge fund doesn't come in and buy a company, and that's not like, oh, this is my baby. This is
Right.
They are trying to make money so they can flip it to a bigger hedge fund company,
Right.
and flip it to another one. And what I've seen in the past, and this happened in other industries, is that the hedge fund A buys it, gets it going, flips it to B, flips it to C,
Right.
flips it. Eventually, it's going to hit a line of where it's going to plateau.
Right.
Excuse me, but it's going to hit a line where it's going to plateau, and then there's a whole nether line of hedge fund companies that
Or it
just
implodes, or that
start bottom feeding and ripping them apart.
Right.
And I may be dead by the time it gets to that, but when it does get to that, what is that going to do to our industry? Or, like Mike says, it implodes. And what's that going to do to
goes
the
out of
industry
business.
when it implodes?
Listen, like
People aren't asking the questions
Right.
on these things. We just got back from a asphalt trade show, and there were hedge fund companies walking the showroom floor,
Yeah.
handing out cards. One company I got a card from, I went to their website for that says their address, their web domain name, and their web domain name is for sale on GoDaddy for $12,000. It's almost like they started this offshoot of this hedge fund to buy out these companies and didn't check to see if their domain name was available before they bought it, and their domain name's for sale. And that's the type of company you want to be doing business with and getting in bed with.
Well-
it scares the hell out of me.
Right.
And I've got questions that I want to ask, and I think maybe it's a great thing for a company that had no succession plan that wants to get out. Yeah, sell. What are you going to do? I mean,
but like you said, I think what happens is that after they have that second and third bite at the apple, the apple they call it, it's got to implode because it's not sustainable. You know what I mean?
I agree. 100%.
Our families have put, I
There's
know
no
you're
passion behind
Yeah,
it.
right. Well, that's the thing too, right? You know what I mean?
It's not your thing anymore.
Right. It's we have a lot of passion when it comes to our business. We have a lot of passion. I mean, I've been in your office a handful of times. I could tell you're passionate. You know what I mean? I mean, you got, I could tell you're passionate, and when you're passionate about your business, money kind of comes second. You know what I mean? And I hate to say it like that, but money does come second at some point, and you're more worried about making sure that guy gets his first house, or making sure that guy gets his first car, or making sure that guy is making better. You're still making money as a business owner. Maybe you're not making as much as you could, but is that what life's about? Is making as much money as you can and going to bed with it?
To some people.
Right. That's not what it's like to me.
It's not what it's
do
like
I,
for
do
me
I
either
live
in
do I
this.
live a good life? Yeah, I live a good life. Do I make sure my guys live a good life? Yeah, I want to make sure my guys live a good life too. They're not just a number. I don't think anybody that works for you, and I can say the same thing for me. I don't think anybody that works for me, I don't think of any of them as a number. They're family to me. You know what I mean? They're friends. They're family. They're almost like my partners. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure that I'm put on this earth. I think to run a paving business. You know what I mean? This is why I think I'm on this earth, is to run this paving business. I would be stupid if I took profits over the people, because without them, we can't pay our bills without our guys working.
Well, you can. You just have to sub it all out and be a national company.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You got your family working here, and I have my family working for our business. We're really about making a better place for our people that we're on this earth to protect, right? Yeah. You're the patriarch, right? So you're this patriarch of a business, and you have people from all different walks. I mean, I got people that work for me that are like father, son, uncle. I got people that work for me that are cousin. I got people that work for me that are brother-in-law and sister-in-law. So I have a lot of family. I mean, everyone's
different families, just a bunch of them.
Yeah, intertwined in our industry. Everybody that I do work for or do work with, they're at my kid's birthday party. You know what I mean? Everyone so like we really put a face to everything, and I think that's very important. I don't think these hedge fund guys, it's about money. They wear their Patagonia, this is not a Patagonia, but they wear their Patagonia vest with the dress shirts, similar to how we're dressing, but they don't give a shit about how the product turns out for their client, for one, They're
not paving contractors.
No, I mean, one of the largest hedge fund or private equity owned company. That guy has zero experience doing anything with paving. You know what I mean? He's a businessman, but he has zero experience anything to do with paving. You're telling me that guy's going to make the best decision for his client?
No, it's about money. You're right.
Right. It's about money. Money's great, right? Money's a tool.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. That's the hedge fund managing is a job for a reason. But then, like you said, at the end, the client suffers.
Money's a tool while you're here. You're not supposed to have. You don't see guys with caskets with cash sticking out of it. You know what I mean? So while you're here on this earth, yeah, you gotta make money and you gotta provide. But I think as a privately owned business such as me and you, that we're called, or we're a little bit higher calling to make sure that the people that we're surrounded with, that they have a better life too. I don't think the private equity gets that.
No.
And on the flip side, so that's the business run of things. But on the flip side, when it comes to going after and taking care of these clients, and there's companies out there that own 20-something paving companies, right? And I think that's bad for business. I'm not gonna. It's almost like the elephant in the room. Is it collusion? Could they be double bidding work and the client not know about it? I have no idea. You know
That's
what I mean?
That's a good point,
right? You know what I mean?
Because that could be done very easily when you got 20 businesses under your portfolio.
Yeah.
All different names.
And all of a sudden you get 3 bids,
right.
and
I
now,
didn't know. All the guy's got to say is, well, I didn't know. We hired this guy and that guy over there. Well, they didn't know. How do we know? You know what I mean? And you guys decide to get to work. Okay, don't do it again. Smack on your hand. But that could,
how are you gonna prove that?
Right, but that could be collusion at some point, right? I think that the private equity and the hedge fund guys that own all these paving companies they're making money. Obviously, are they doing a disservice to the client at some point? Are they
On a certain level,
right? Because if the old adage, and we use it all the time, is like, if a guy takes care of his parking lot, like a restaurant takes care of his parking lot, can you imagine what his kitchen looks like?
That's
you know what I mean? Like, growing up, my dad used to say, oh, if the bathroom's dirty, imagine what the kitchen looks like.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And so, and I do.
If you don't care about somebody going to walk in and trip in your parking lot.
Right. What does the kitchen look like?
Why do you care about if the kitchen floor is clean?
Cut corners for a safety hazard. Imagine,
right.
Yeah. That's
so
that people can't even see.
Right. So can you imagine a private equity guy say, well, I don't really care about these people that work for me. You know what I mean? They're just numbers. If you don't perform, you're out of here. If you don't get it 15% year over year, you're out of here. So what are they doing to the client too? Does the client become a number to them? Does the clients, you know what I mean?
Well, and if there's no passion in it, and the plan of the company is not to You know, like let's say I have a lot of passion in this. I sell out to a hedge fund or another company, right? They want to keep me on. But I constantly hear now, like, no, you can't do this for your guy.
Right.
No, you can't do that. Oh, you got to cut this back. Oh, you got to cut that back. My passion's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be in it as much. Yeah,
Right.
because you just become an employee. So like you said, you're taking an industry that is very passionate because people will be like, they did asphalt for 1 year while they were in college and they're still 10 years later pointing out, you know, well, look at that parking lot. It's got a crack in it, or pointing out to their wives what parking lot they did that 1 year, because there is a lot of passion.
Yeah.
And now you're taking something and you're numbing it and you're taking the passion out of the industry.
My dad started his company in 1975, and we had a guy that worked for us forever. He was our roller operator. And he passed away probably 15, 18 years ago. And my dad helped him buy his first house, you know, and that guy would have never be able to get that first house if it wasn't for my dad. You know what I mean? That's what I think we're here for. You know what I mean? Money's great. Money's great. It's nice to go to a nice restaurant and go on a nice vacation, drive a nice car. But what good is it if I can't help somebody? Right?
Right.
You know, what good is it if I can't make sure that somebody else lives better too? You know what I mean? It doesn't do any good.
I was going to say, if these hedge funds only think about money and how to make their profits, imagine if they did know about the asphalt business. They'd be cutting every corner possible on the product.
Right. That too. You know what I mean? But they're buying companies that are in the industry, right? So everyone knows the tricks of the trade. You know, some people implement it, some people don't, you know? So, you know, we tend to do business with people that don't cut corners, right? You know what I mean? So they know that there's no secret to cheating in our business, right? You know, there's no secret.
You either do it or you don't.
Yeah, right. You either do it or you don't, you know? And every day you have that conscious decision to wake up and say, do I cheat today or do I not cheat today? You know what I mean? So it's a constant decision you got to make every day. I think these private equity owned companies don't put a face to anything. I really don't. You know, they don't put a face to anything. That client, they have no connection with them. You know what I mean? The guy sitting at the helm of that private equity or hedge fund doesn't have a connection with them. They care about profits. They look at numbers. They don't look at it. It's like a yearbook, right? When you look through a yearbook, oh, I remember that person. That person was funny. This person was kind of a geek or whatever.
The hedge fund guy could be eating a steak at a place he pays the parking lot for and doesn't even know.
Don't even care. Right.
But what's dangerous though, and this goes back to both the hedge fund guys, probably more so than the national guys, but they all know it. They know how corporate America works. And most asphalt guys don't know how corporate America works. And they're sitting there going, how come, you know, I bid on this box store and now I didn't get it, but I've got this guy that wants me to do it. And he wants you to do it, you know, it's a couple $1,000s cheaper than what you originally bid it at. And you think, oh, well, that's him getting that. No, he's probably in higher than what you were because he knows how corporate America works. They know how to get in there. They know how to they know the tricks.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned something earlier too about, you know, the cheapest guy, right? Do you go with the cheapest dentist?
No.
You know, you go and, you know, like say a guy's got a heart problem, you go with the cheapest cardiologist. Why is the paving guys, you know, when you know, like maybe they don't, you know, a lot of clients don't put value on what we do, right? We're the last people, you know, the roof's gonna leak.
Some of them don't realize it.
Right, but you know, we don't do any GC work, but I know the GC game. The roof's getting a better job. Their roof's getting good before the paving's getting better. You know what I mean? Hey, we had to spend another $20,000 on the roof because of this and that, but we're gonna cut 20 G on the paving and put 2.5 inches of asphalt down on top of 3 inches of stone. That's going to happen.
Oh, it
you know,
it does. And same thing, because that's your welcome mat. Right. That is like a trip hazard. That's liability. That's why do we always get pushed to the end?
Right. Yeah. He just said, try to budget a broken ankle,
right.
But they don't think about that. No. That's reactionary. You know, they think about, okay, well, you know,
that's kind of what you got to paint the picture for. That's kind of the whole
education, right?
Right. The problem is, though, is a lot of times you're educating that guy you're walking the lot with. Is he taking and educating the guy who's going to sign the contract?
No.
You know,
you got to work top of the food chain. I tell my sales guys, we work top of the food chain. We're the shark. We are the guy at the top of the food chain, getting those clients. And if I don't have a national client, if I want to get in, I'll go to the ends of the earth to try to get that client. You know what I mean? And I'll use every avenue. I'll show at his house up with the Dunkin' Donuts.
Remember, we drove to Ohio.
Yeah, knock on
going?
the door. Yeah, because that's how bad I want that client to make sure that they know
Shows that you care.
Yeah, shows that we care. You know,
They're not just trying to make a buck off them.
right? You know, and we do that. I'll go to the ends of the earth to gain a client. You know, because I know we could outservice them. I know that we could perform well for them. You know, and they're not just a number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we said, kind of go back on kind of what we said too. I mean, I guess the customer has to also watch out, because as there are so many new people coming, there are people that are just, hey, I started my business 2 years ago. I really don't know much about this. I don't have the equipment, but they'll promote themselves as a national company because they can, because they're willing to
Social media.
pick up their stuff. They got the social media.
Who's going to challenge them?
And are they set? Because you learn the hard way when you start traveling that it's not the same as doing the work right down the road.
Yeah.
It's your guy. I mean, from your guys having to be, you know, are they prepared to take it? Because the guys get excited when if you're a new company and you're like, hey, we're going to do this national work. I have an opportunity to pick up, 20 KFCs. Okay. Well, what are they giving you? $3,400 a pop.
Yeah.
You got 6 different colors on that parking lot. You're going to take your guys down there who are we're going to Florida. It's vacation.
Is KFC still around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Else closed.
Yeah.
But-
so like, I mean, like you said, the guys, I think,
and are they going to be drunk? Are they going to wake up the next day? Are they going to be worth a crap? You can lose a lot of money when you're traveling.
I think our guys, like our crew is always up for a road trip, right? The guys like, yeah, let's go. Where are we going? Yeah, let's go. It's their wives, their family, the kids that suffer too. You know what I mean? And they got to be on board.
What they say though, they always say they understand. They understand this is how it is for the first couple months.
Yeah.
They say their families understand with all the traveling.
Yeah, because our guys, I mean, last year
we have guys that their wives understand and all that stuff, and they're there to make money. And then we've had guys that, the girlfriend's putting a ton of pressure on them, and then that's making them drained, or they go to the casino, or they go to the strip club, or they're not worth crap, or they're getting drunk. I mean,
our guys last year, the longest trip we went on was like a 3-week trip to California. And me and Colin flew out there and stopped and took them out. Every time our guys go out of town for an extended period of time, I try to go there, spend a day with them, spend a day on the job with them, take them out to dinner, let them know how much more they're appreciated.
And that's why we put our guys up in nice hotels with warm swimming pools, hot tubs.
Nice.
We give them per diem. We take them out for a nice dinner, because I say if we can't afford, if it's going to be so like we can't afford it, then we're not going to travel.
Right.
I mean,
prison.
Our customers, I think, are a little bit different for our national traveling stuff. We used to go do in Walmart striping and stuff like that, but as that's gotten more people in that, where it's just kind of getting bogged down. I mean, we're taking on, our more regional stuff, like I said.
Yeah.
I mean, we're more of a
yeah.
regional company now with a national outreach.
Right.
So we still have some really good customers that we're on that job, not because they're trying to bid the cheapest. We're on that job because they're like, hey, you hooked me up on this one.
That's how we are.
Somebody dropped out a ball on us over here. You came, you hooked us up on this one. We don't mind paying a little bit more. We want you guys to stay at nice places, and we want you to come do our work, because we know what we're going to get.
They see the value.
We know that if there is an issue, I can pick up the phone and call the owner of the company that's doing multiple states for me. Where do you have that if you're hiring the hedge fund company? You're not picking up the phone and calling the owner.
We struggle with, Colin's kind of like my sounding board on a lot of stuff, because I could trust him, and he understands kind of how my mind works a little bit. But everything that we do, if we can't go and do a good job and get paid for it and cover our costs, we're not doing it. I have a real hard time with going into a market that I've never worked in and calling a guy and try to qualify him through a Google review or a website and say, hey, can you bid on this $100,000 or 100,000 square foot overlay? It's just not my MO. If I can't go do it with what we have, and we're kind of like the same thing. I think you put it great, was that we're Midwest, but regional, but we could have a national reach. it never feels good to get a call from a national company and saying, here's what we need. Go do this, go do that.
It's down the street from you.
Yeah, it's a block away from my house, or a block away from my shop, whatever. So,
I mean, see, my thing is, I don't have a problem with that if it's a good national company. I feel like exactly, and I want to make sure that people aren't just thinking that this episode is just bashing national or hedge funds. Like we said, we don't know a lot about the hedge fund stuff or where that's going to go because it's new. We've got concerns, as we should in this industry. And for the national guys, there are good ones out there. We're not bashing them all.
No.
And we're not saying if your dream is to start a national one, we're not trying to deter you. We're trying to give you like some educated information so you can make an educated decision instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to be a national company, but you may not even know how to get down there and do the work. Right. Do you know how to handle it when things go wrong?
So there's a lot. I don't think there's enough data out there or time has passed that these companies that these service companies have been bought by national that have been bought by hedge funds or private equity. I don't think there's enough data out there to say, well, this is what happens to your company after it's been sold 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the case yet. But I think over the next five years, you're going to see companies that have been bought 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Are they going to be in business? I don't know. Those
but how much damage are they going to do before they're out?
They're going to do a lot.
That's what I'm concerned.
They're going to do a lot of damage
because we don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
And you can see how as the national market has completely changed from 10 years ago when there was multiple, a handful of guys, they were doing things well. They were kind of onto something, and then it just got just flooded. Yeah. And now it's like when it's competition's always good. I always tell my customers and all that stuff, hey, I don't mind losing out to a competitor if he's a good competitor. I can't do all the work. Right. Competition is good. It keeps you, your feet, on the.
But when you got
toes, it keeps you on your toes so that you can keep coming up with something better, and they come up with something better, and you kind of can work to what it's. I don't want to lose out to somebody who's going to cut it because I won't cut the bid.
I'm okay if there's 10 jobs and there's 8 guys getting that work. Okay. What I'm not okay with is there are 8 jobs and there's 10 guys out there. You know what I mean? Right? So say there's 8 jobs out there, just to put on a small scale, and there's 10 paving companies vying for those 8 jobs. It's like in grammar school, the musical chairs. Well, someone's going to get shorted.
Problem that's even worse is I think I remember back when I started in 98. So you get sealer for 98 cents a gallon. Gas was like 87 cents a gallon. Paying somebody good in our industry back then was like $12, $13 an hour for seal coating. And then that was good.
You're not supposed to pay guys.
And you can get, if you can find it, you can't find anybody to pay it that.
My son won't work for 12.
Right, exactly. 13. I mean, I think Illinois' minimum wage is $15 an hour now. I mean, you're not, my son won't
really?
Even,
Minimum wage for me was $8. Remember that?
What?
Eight?
Minimum wage for me was $4.75.
It was $8 for me.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Where the heck is $8?
Well, I haven't worked a normal
job
in 20, almost 30 years.
You had a good paying job.
No, well,
you were like white collar back then.
No, when I was 12 years old, I was making $12 an hour. I remember my dad was always matching.
$8 an hour minimum wage back then. What were you, a hedge fund manager?
No, but like growing up when I was working with the crew, if I was 12 or 14 years old, my dad was paying me the same amount I was aged, right? So I remember 15 years old, I was making $15 an hour.
But how many hours were your days? 10, 15?
Oh, I'd come home.
You didn't drive. You were with him. Because when I first started working with you, I had to ride with him because I lived next door to him. And I'd get there at 4 o'clock and I'd leave at 6 or 7 because he was in the office. I had to find stuff to do around the shop.
At night. So, my sister would call me, hey, where's Colin? I'm like, oh, he's sleeping.
Dead in the Bobcat.
No. So, no, yeah, I just think with the hedge funds and the private equity guys, we don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't think there's not enough data or historical data from the service companies that they've already bought and now our industry, right? But I don't think it's advantageous of if you're a property manager or a construction facilities guy to go to bed with those guys because you don't know what you're going to get. If their bathroom's dirty, chances are the kitchen's going to be dirty too. You know what I mean? That's how I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like I said, we were not trying to make this all about just saying yay or nay to this or bashing this. I mean, we started off
Shining
in the
light on
national,
it.
just trying to just shed some light on some concerns, what we've seen, let people have, take what it is and say, hey, do I want to do
It's a
work for
a
these
conversation.
companies, or ask the questions, ahead of
Yeah.
time. Hey, how long is it going to be till I get paid?
Right.
Or did you take money down? Am I getting money down? How are they paid? Who's liable if I do something because your contract says stripe it back how it was? Who's liable if there's a lawsuit?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're telling me to do it exactly how it was, and the lawsuit happened because of something that was already on there, then that should be, obviously on them, not on me.
Yeah.
But having that stuff that I think people just hear, like, hey, we got 3 box stores in your area. Do you want to do this? And their tail starts wagging. And also not
Say
to be
no.
afraid. Well, this was going to say, don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah.
I used to be afraid to say no, and we would do more work.
Yeah.
We would lose money.
It's
We would make money.
It's okay.
When
like,
I learned
yeah.
to say no,
Made it
we
easier to do
started
your
making
job.
way more. The 2 things that really allowed the business to grow was when I finally, I knew what I was supposed to be doing for bidding work and coming up with my numbers. I just never followed it. And when I finally said implemented following that and saying no to work is when you grow, which is a lot of the opposite of what people think, because they're like, I have to say yes to everything and I have to bid everything cheap.
Yeah.
You're not going to make money that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 2 tested times, right? I mean, you've been in business almost 30 years, and we're going on 50 next year, granted I'm second generation, but I think that, we must be doing something right. Right. It's not, you don't
make it this
you
far.
don't moonlight as a
on
bartender or
on
anything,
one
right?
aspect, I say, okay, I look back, I look at what I got and everything and go, okay, I must be doing something right, like you said.
Right.
But in the other aspect, I look around and go, am I the stupidest guy there is?
No,
because
don't
for as hard as I have to work
I know, but it's okay.
for it, and it used to be like, I remember late 90s, early 2000s, like it was fun being in the asphalt industry. Yeah. And it's like, we shouldn't have to worry about,
there's a lot of people do what we do.
The economy kind of went to crap for a little bit in 2001 with 9/11. It went to crap in 2008.
2009.
It went to, we had COVID. Like, I remember like guys in the 60s and 70s could have great years and run and have fun and being in business for 20 years. And now we're like, okay, it's like you get things rolling for like 5 years and then boom, the economy goes crap. Or things are going for 5 years and you get COVID. Or things are going for 5 years and then we're like, is the economy going to go to crap again?
It's election year now.
Is it going to go? I mean, things are already starting to slow down, and you can always tell by 2 years ago, you couldn't hire somebody.
Yeah.
I've got people knocking on the door. You're hiring. That tells me things are already starting to slow down.
I had a customer tell me this a few years back. It was hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I consider the private equity guys talented, but they're not going to outwork me. You know what I mean? They're not going to outwork us.
Well, and we're kind of different though. As far as the fact that we've kind of, and I think it comes back to the whole passion, but we've kind of molded our businesses into more of a boutique business. Like, I'm not going for the same work as my competitors in the area. They have to compete with the lowest price to get this driveway or that driveway. I don't
ever want to be the
I
lowest
don't
price.
have to do one job in my local area because I have my core customers that we're going to go do, that we're going to take care of, we're going to make our money off of that. But it's taken a long time of and I never sat down with a pen and paper and was like, this is what I'm going to do. It kind of just,
gravitates
that way.
Well, like you mentioned in the last one about you remember doing national work and there were 3 guys on the bid. Yeah. Now there's 35. Can you imagine being out of 35 guys, the cheapest guy? Yeah. Like what? And
I don't think they're necessarily the cheapest. I don't think
there's a low guy.
There's a low guy. And I think they know where the corporations know, like, okay, we're going to take these 3 low guys and then we're going to they know before they make 30 people bid. They know if you bid, I feel like if you're a national guy and you come in too cheap, they're going to throw your bid out because
Yeah.
they know that they're going to get shorted. So they know that number that they want to pay, and then they're going to
There's a
take
change
those
order.
few guys and they're
I'm
going to
a mi-
get it down, and they're going to crunch it to know
Yeah.
where
I
they
like to
should
be in the middle of the pack. I never want
I
to be
do
the
too.
cheapest, never want to be the highest.
Right.
If
That's
you're
what
in
we
the
tell
middle,
everybody,
if
too.
you're in the middle of the pack, you're doing okay. So even if I lose a bid, and they say, oh yeah, you were the highest guy. Well, what's the other guy? Oh, he was $3,000 cheaper than you. Well, that's not bad on a $100,000 job,
Right.
But I think a lot of the stuff that we do is relationship based. You know what I mean? So we're developing relationships with these clients, and they're not always looking at the lowest dollar, right? They're not always looking at the cheapest guy. They like doing business with Nick. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they say, well, we know Nick has taken care of us for so long on other jobs. Why would we deviate from that? You know what I mean? And same thing with us. He has clients. I have clients that just say, you know what? Just go do it. Just take care of us. Give us a fair price, and just get it done. I think that's more sustainable than trying to be the cheapest guy on a 40 bid.
And I mean,
40
so for our, and that's the thing, like, we don't need any local work to pay the bills. We've
Yeah.
got it, like I said before, but if I really wanted to, we got a lot of local competitors that really just can't keep my name out of their mouth and all that stuff. But they don't realize that when I've made my nut in March
Yeah.
off of a handful of jobs, if I wanted to really destroy the market in the area, I could come in and bid everything locally at my cost
Yeah.
just to be a sore thumb. And I don't want to do that because, my guys are valued. Like somebody
Right.
said a long time ago, it's okay for the people. Cause I used to be, when I was like growing up, I hire somebody to do the door. I got to have the cheapest bid. And then somebody said something that made really sense to me. It's okay for the guy that's doing your work to make money, because
Right.
if he's not going to be able to come back. He's not going to be able
not
to
gonna be
get
happy.
it done. He's not going to do it the right way,
Right.
so it's okay for
Yeah.
the people that you're hiring to make money.
I like when you said you could say no. I say no a lot.
I
you
do
know?
now. I never used to be able to, but we learned the hard way where we took on,
It's very
Jobs.
gratifying
There
to
was-
say no.
and I mean, that's a whole different episode. We could have a whole episode
Yeah.
on nightmare jobs and all that stuff. That we had a
Sales in
lady
general,
who
clients.
You learn pretty quickly to say no to
had
clients.
some brick on the side of her driveway that her husband, who had passed away, had put them in. And, we got to leave these. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to get it to
Yeah.
drain with that. But I didn't say no.
Yeah.
And guess what happened?
It was a
It
headache.
didn't drain.
Yeah.
And then we had to go back and rip it out to make her happy. But I said, we got to rip the bricks out. And then she was tickled pink on that. Well, they hit one little picket on the fence with the paver. They didn't have those same pickets. So we ended up having to replace that whole fence to make her happy.
Yeah.
And it was I knew. It was
Say-
one of those things that just say no.
Yeah. He's been here
I
a couple
didn't.
years, and he
Let it be your competitor's
Yeah.
problem.
saying no, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that even the new sales guy we hire, we have to teach him that. I think that's extremely important just in sales in general. But like you said, that's a whole other episode
Yeah.
of sales tactics and.
I mean, we'll
doing
get you
client
guys
relations.
back on and have another episode,
Cool.
but we're
Yeah, it's
running
been
out
great,
of
man.
time. So, but thanks you guys for coming. And I
Thank you.
think we hit on a pretty good topic.
Cool.
So,
Thanks, Nick.
yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
All right.
After hours.